Let's just get this baby started. Hey, it is the calm before the Corvallis Super Regional Storm, if you will. Adam Bjaranson here with you in our Coin Now studio. We are super excited to be talking Beavers baseball, everything Oregon State related. As we get ready to begin the Super Regionals tomorrow, we're going to be joined by the great Mike Parker here in just a minute, the voice of the Beavs. And I'm going to bring you up right now. That's how we're going to do this, Mike. Greetings. Welcome. This is one of the maiden voyages for us on this new digital platform that it seems like everybody in the world is going to these days, Mike.
Adam, I'm glad you're the pilot here on this voyage because I wouldn't be able to help you at all. But I'm grateful that you called upon me first. And I'm grateful, as you said, that we're talking Beavers baseball this time of year. Great time of year to be doing it.
Well, this technology and everything, I'd love just to pull people down to my level so I don't feel so overwhelmed. So I'm glad that you and I are in the same boat on that. How exciting is this for you? You and I have done Super Regionals before. Of course, you are physically there at all of them. How is this one different? Does it feel any different? Maybe the momentum and the confidence this team has built over the last 4 games. But what does it remind you of right now? How's this team, the vibe around it right now?
It's a good question. And I thought it was fitting, Adam, that 20 years from the big breakthrough in 2005 when the USC Trojans came into Corvallis for a super regional, but they came in with as the winningest, most decorated program, and they still are. Their 12 national championships, still the most that one program has ever won. But they came in 2005, and Pat Casey had that club led by Jacoby Ellsbury and Dallas Buck and Kevin Gunderson and Andy Jenkins and Jonah Nickerson and Cole Gillespie and others. And that team that weekend in a super regional defeated USC in a third game on a Monday to break through to Omaha for the first time in 53 years. And so we go 20 years later on Monday, winner take all for the Corvallis Regional, and it's USC again. And so there was, in a sense, it felt appropriate. It was fitting that the Beavers in this year of years when they've been, and Washington State left behind in the dissolution of the conference, everybody else scurrying to find their own path forward. Oregon State and Washington State, meanwhile, they're finding a good path forward too, but it's been a very challenging and difficult time, and to be, in a sense, relegated to the independent role and do everything they had to do to secure an 8th seed and thus be able to survive. I think on the road they wouldn't have been able to survive the first game regional loss, but to be at home and it be 20 years later against USC and to beat them soundly 14-1 and 9-0 to keep their postseason alive as they did 20 years ago, it's utterly different in a certain respect than 2005, but it had a nice familiarity to beat USC and advance.
No doubt about it. And it's still funny to me, Mike, to be able to call Oregon State now a baseball destination. Nobody in their right mind could have ever thought about this 20 years ago, that Corvallis, Oregon would be on the map where recruits want to go, where the facilities have improved to the level that they have. Talk about that and what it has meant for really the state of Oregon just to have baseball here be relevant. And we're seeing what's happening obviously down at Oregon as well. They have upped their game, if you will. So it is a destination in the Northwest with Corvallis being the epicenter.
Adam, I'm glad you put it that way. Yes, Oregon had a really good year. And in fact, it looked for a while as though maybe that 4 games against them could end up costing the Beavers a chance for the national seed. I think and I think most people know, and Oregon's done a great job with their program, but I'm not sure that Oregon would have had the will, the motivation, the impetus to revive baseball if it hadn't been, again, going back 20 years ago and the ensuing back-to-back national championships in 2006 and 2007. I certainly think that accelerated a timeline for Oregon to bring its program back. The University of Washington and Washington State, each with tremendous stadium enhancements since, we talk about the epicenter, since the Beavers began to even the LA Times beat writer over the weekend, when trying to size up USC's loss to Oregon State, said in 2005 there was sort of an unofficial changing of the guard from USC's dominance in the West to this outpost Corvallis, Oregon, the Pacific
Right.
Northwest. It still is a marvelous story and an incredible story. And when you talk about the changes and all, I mean, in 2005, as I was looking around as the Beavers were taking care of business here in 2025 to beat USC in advance, the ballpark itself, everything that's happened in the growth of the program and the commitment to the program. I looked around and said, well, there's a foul ball off to the right to the Omaha room, which wasn't here 20 years ago, but it is now. There's a foul ball into Casey Corner in the stands in the right field corner, named for the legendary coach, Pat Casey. There's a Banners party deck down the left field line. There's a hitting facility in center field. So what's happened, Adam, is just it's beyond the pale, really, in terms of still year by year by year reckoning with the rise of a program that Pat Casey and many others, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a heavy lift to get the Beavers into a program as a national brand. And they have a chance to get back. They're at home, 2 wins away from another trip to the College World Series. I've been around it for 26 years here now, and I've seen the arc of the growth, Adam, and it still amazes me, even though I've kind of seen it year by year by year.
Yeah, it is pretty funny, and we've got the great Mike Parker, voice of the Beavs, joining us here on Coin Now. I get asked this a lot. I've been in the industry now for 30 years, 24 and a half of them in Portland. I'm the OG now here in PDX. So here's the deal, though. I get asked all the time, what's the greatest sporting event that you've ever covered in your life? And I go back to 2006 and 2007 because I always say it's a tie. It's a tie between the two national championships that Oregon State won against North Carolina. And I'm sure those are high on your list as well, Mike. I never get tired of hearing the call, the final outs. How do you prepare as the stakes get a little higher now? How are you preparing mentally for this? Or is it just, hey, been here, done that for you?
I was caught up by the emotion shown by all of the fans during the Corvallis Regional, Adam, in a way that brought back a lot of the chills and the excitement of that first year in '06, winning the national title. Whether this team has enough, I think they do. I think they can come back with another title, get to Omaha and win the thing. The way they're swinging, all of the elements and phases of their game coming together. But even if they don't, what I saw in looking around about 4,400 people engaged on every pitch, and the home field advantage at Goss Stadium or Coleman Field is over this past regional weekend, winning 4 straight elimination games, brought back the 6 straight elimination games that you well recall covering it in Omaha in '06. A lot of that same vibe and feel was coming through watching this team nearly 20 years later, backs against the wall, fighting their way off to advance. It's special. So preparing, well, there's a certain degree, as you know, for every broadcast, you prepare similarly in terms of, okay, what do I know about Florida State other than Deion Sanders? Well, a little bit, and so I'm going to work on their great personnel and creating charts and notes. But I do like to, in the broadcast, try to put it all in a context. So if the Beavers do get through Florida State, first ever meeting between the Beavers and Seminoles, 2 national brands in baseball. I can't believe that somewhere along the way all these years, their paths have not crossed. They were in Omaha together in 2017. Mike Martin took a team there in 17, and Pat Casey did too, that transcendent team that was 54-4 until the last 2 games against LSU, and they didn't make it to the finals that year. Came back the next year and took care of business, as we well remember. But I love the stage that these 2 programs are on. They both deserve to be here. Florida State had a strong case for the 8th national seed in its own right, but they're having to travel 2,800 miles out here. I mean, they made a trip to Cal earlier this year. They did play Cal in a great ACC rivalry, Cal and Florida State. So they did play in Berkeley, so they've made the trip out once. That actually helps them probably to kind of, okay, we got to adjust the time zones. Things are a little different. They have done it once this year. But it's a great stage for 2 great programs, and whoever wins the Super Regional will be a worthy representative in Omaha, where Florida State's been 24 times to the College World Series, including Deion playing for them there in Omaha in '87. But they've never brought back a championship, whereas the Beavers' percentage, 8 trips historically, 3 titles. So I like the Beavers' percentage in that matchup.
Oh my gosh, that's just crazy how many times they've been there. I think most all time, right?
Second most, I believe. I
Okay.
think it's second. I've got it here. You asked the question. It may be the most, 24. Okay. I don't have it right in front of me. That may be the most. You know what? I think it is. It may indeed be the most. I defer to you, Adam.
Well, let's just go with it. Let's just make our
Okay.
own rules on this show.
Right. Good
That's
idea.
just crazy. How are these? I know you're just kind of diving into what Florida State's all about, but they've got the history, obviously, and they've got, that says something right there that they are a brand that is
Right.
literally there every year. Strengths, weaknesses. They could potentially have the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming draft. I imagine he'll be their Friday starter. They want to get off to
teams are in a TBA mode playing coy with one another, but
Mm.
Jamie Arnold is whom you're referring
Yes.
to. Absolutely brilliant left-hander. Could indeed be the number 1 pick, but they've got another guy. I mean, the rotation, left-handed pitchers and good. And we saw the Beavers really struggle against a lefty for St. Mary's in the regional opener. The difference being that St. Mary's lefty, Cody Del Vecchio, was sort of a Jamie Moyer-esque finesse, crafty lefty. Jamie Arnold will come right at you with a blazing fastball, filthy slider, good changeup. It's going to be tough to score a lot of runs against this dude. And the Beavers understand that. But after him, again, if the Beavers somehow don't muster enough against the great Jamie Arnold, and they may not, they still feel pretty good about if they have their backs against the wall again, they could win 2 games at home in the next 2. But they're not backing down on Jamie Arnold or whomever Link Jarrett, the head coach for Florida State, chooses how he chooses to set up his rotation. But they're all good. They're all good arms. And the thing I'm most excited about, Adam, is a showdown of shortstops this weekend. Alex Lodis is also mentioned as maybe the first position player, perhaps, to come off the board in this year's draft. He's the shortstop for Florida State. The Beavers have a guy named Iva Arquette, who at times during the course of the year has been mentioned as a possible 1-1 or a top 5 pick. And their numbers are very similar. What they mean to their teams is it's almost impossible to really describe how important Arquette has been to Oregon State. What Lodis, the ACC Player of the Year, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, Brooks Wallace finalist for Shortstop of the Year, as is the Beavers' Iva Arquette. They don't play each other one-on-one in a shortstop skills competition, but both of those guys are going to be vital to which team emerges this weekend.
And what I love too is we're talking about Arnold, just being more of a power pitcher than finesse. I love how the Beavers just started with this game plan. And was it the game against Cal Poly or was it the first game against USC where they were laying down the sack bunts? And I mean, they were generating by small ball, Mike, and it was amazing to see. Don't have to have these power bats in their lineup. They can get the job done by just playing the game, by slowing it down a little bit.
It was an important inning, I thought, for the Beavers in that game that you're referring to against USC, the first elimination game against the Trojans in the second inning. Now, the Beavers had made a play at the plate to gun down a USC runner, a brilliant relay cannon reader to Iva Arquette, Wilson Weber, tag out an SC player at the plate on a ball hit deep into the gap. I thought there was no chance to get an out, and the Beavers did, and the crowd got into it. Then, when the Beavers came to the plate as the visitors, in their own ballpark in the top of the second, 3 consecutive bunt plays, a total of 4 bunts in the inning, 4-run score, and I've never heard Goss Stadium at Coleman Field louder than the fans reveling in a buntapalooza, as Mitch Cannon called it. 4 bunts in an inning, but Adam, at the same time, in the 5 games in the regional, they hit 15 home runs too.
Right.
So at the right time, that everything came together, and they certainly gave Florida State a lot to think about, in terms of the scouting report. Oh, well, are they going to bunt here? It'll affect how they position their defense. It could create more holes, just knowing that the bunt threat and the ability to execute it is present. So that 4-bunt inning that the fans loved, and Mitch calls a buntapalooza, serves the Beavers well this weekend.
I mean, 50-6. I mean, I'm not saying they were flexing, but that was insane to see what they did to teams that had every right to be there. But I'm telling you, there's something special also, Mike, about Goss and how the team prepares. Now, I was there in 2022 when unfortunately they lost to Auburn, and that was a really good Tigers team as well, as you and I both know. But Mitch Canham, he has grown so much as a coach. This will be his third super regional, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
How have you seen him change as a coach and maybe, just get better? And he has over the last, 2-3 years.
It's hard to really try to account for that. I would concur, though, and I think he would too, that just simple growth in his sixth year as a head coach at the collegiate level, after many years kind of marinating in the Mariners system as a manager, rising up and
Mm-hmm.
conducting professional ball games, long seasons for many years. I think just growing into the rhythm of a college season, growing into how to practice and prepare the best with a limited amount of time. Pro ball, you're playing games essentially every night and you're learning on the job.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little more instruction involved in terms of how to prepare properly to navigate a college season, which is 55 games compared to 140, 155 or whatever it is he's managed at. So I just think his own growth and understanding of the best way to manage a given game that he's in without preconceived ideas. I don't think he went into the 14-1 win over USC saying, I think we'll bring out the bunt game here tonight. It just one bunt begot another. I just think how he's flowing in terms of keeping momentum going and keeping his guys at a pitch of readiness. He's learned how to do that and keep the guys even when they get punched in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
His ability to keep them up, to challenge them, but also to keep them up so they don't lose confidence. This season was a tremendous example of coaching. First of all, to find, as you mentioned earlier, to find the schedule that made it very road heavy.
Oh, boy.
24,000 miles. They had to find teams that had opening weekends,
Mm-hmm.
no conference for them to play in. So the way Mitch put that together, with an emphasis on travel, with the belief that the team was good enough, he believed in his personnel enough. You guys can do this. We may not have a lot of home games in the regular season. We'll have meaningful home games at the end. And
Mm-hmm.
just to see how that worked out in his own vision. He's a very visionary guy. He visualizes things. He shares those visions with his players. So maybe the greatest growth is just simply in being able to transmit to his young men exactly what he's seen, what he knows the guys are capable of, and he's eliciting the best efforts from them, much in the manner that Pat Casey did during his amazing 24-year run when guys reached heights that they weren't even sure they were capable of, but he got them there.
And that's a good guy to have his ear, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't get any
absolutely.
better than to have Pat there a lot of the time. So, yeah, it's going to be amazing this weekend. I can only imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like. I, unfortunately, will not be down there. I've got a sixth grader who's got a baseball tournament.
Well, you're where you're supposed to be. That's absolutely the best place to be. But I hope if you're at that tournament, you'll put the radio on or something. We'll try to keep you posted, Adam.
Well, I gave you props on Twitter, X, whatever we call it these days. After I think it was the TCU game. Who was the pitcher for the opposition who came barking off?
Well, I got a little too fired up.
You did.
Braden Sloan. Now, sorry, my dog. There's somebody knocking at my door. I can't control the dog. So I'll answer the question. But we've got to stop. Hang on just a second.
It's all good. I can tap dance.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
It's all good.
Hey,
Oh, goodness.
No.
This is what we call live TV, everyone, here on the Coin Now. You never know what you're going to see. But Adam Bjaranson here, joined with the great Mike Parker. And, of course, you can listen to him all the time, telling great stories. What knowledge he has upstairs is truly second to none. And he's got a dog that's a very good two.
My apologies.
What is
There's nothing I can do about that except try to go rein them in. Somebody had the temerity in our household to deliver a pizza for a student who's living with us this year.
Okay.
And he ordered a pizza, and the pizza delivery person came and knocked on the door. Who's that knocking on the door? Not Barnacle Bill the sailor, but the pizza man. And so it's all under control now, I hope. what were we talking about? We're talking about what
Oh,
were we
what were
talking
we?
about? Yeah,
You had
it
me
was a
at.
very important point, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I think it was. I don't even remember, but we were. I don't remember. That's what
Pat
happens.
Casey. We were talking about the influence, the influence of Pat Casey
Yeah.
being around, and just Case has just built the program up into such a marvelous, incredible brand that the story continues to amaze. And that's, I think we touched on that earlier. There was
Mhm.
another point we were on, and I'm sorry to have lost it. The dogs barking created the furor in my household, and I apologize. But it's been fun to talk to
Oh,
you.
it was.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was about the
you
pitcher.
you're gonna be where you need to be, and we're gonna have. I hope you have the radio on. You were talking this not to
Yes.
try to bring something up where you were saying you had something on X or whatever,
Oh,
but it's
that's
the
right.
TC. Yeah, here
The
we go. The
TCU pitcher.
TCU game.
Yeah.
Now, I apologized a little bit afterwards because I got carried away in the competitiveness of the moment, and there are times, you know, I. I've had a Bob Dylan revival in my own life with the great film A Complete Unknown. I loved the movie. I've been a Dylan fan, but not deep dives on Dylan. But I've come across most of his discography here of late and listened to a lot of it and came across one of his old songs, The Man in Me. It's a good tune, The Man in Me. But I took the M out, put the F in, and had to say, The Fan in Me got the best of me in those moments. And I lost objectivity, I lost professionalism, and I kind of went after it. If I was in the Beavers dugout myself yelling at Braden Sloan, the pitcher for TCU, who I thought was yelling too much at the Beaver dugout and Frank Caraway. And so I got a little carried away, and I apologize for that.
Apology accepted. I'm
Okay,
looking.
thank you.
Yeah, 5 days ago, I said, "You tell him, Mike Parker at Beaver Baseball."
Thank you.
But that it was great because I've heard you do this on a number of times while listening to Beaver broadcasts. Whether it's been your famous basketball call or the baseball one where you do something like this and you put the mic away and you start
Yeah,
screaming.
it
I love
has
it.
happened from time to time, and I apologize. I'm sure that breach of professionalism wasn't my first. I hate to say it, it's probably not going to be my last,
No, nor
but
should it
I'm
be.
trying. I'm trying to get better.
You're a passionate human being, and we love that about you. And then most people, which I still find crazy, a lot of people still don't know that you're a University of Oregon graduate. And people are like, wait, but he's so Oregon State through and through.
Well,
Yeah.
Adam, I'm sorry. I mean, it's been 26 years now. Hey, doggies, that's enough. Everything's under control. That was 20. It's been 26 years, and I felt like from day one, there's never been any cognitive dissonance involved with it. It's just,
Yeah.
I was blessed to be given an opportunity to do what I always wanted to do, which was call all three sports: football, basketball,
Yes.
and baseball. I wanted to do that since I was 7 or 8 years old. I tried. I sent tapes out, tried different places, even my alma mater tried,
Yeah.
never got it. And so at the age of 40, when Mitch Barnhart and Oregon State gave me the opportunity, so deeply grateful and have always been, and thankful for the administrations over the years to kind of sticking by me through some hard times and continuing to give me the opportunity. And so I'm a Beaver through and through, and always will be. And when you or anyone brings up the old life, yeah, I mean, I had good friends and good times in those
Yeah.
days, but the best of days, the best of times have been these last 26 years, and I'm grateful for another chance to call a really meaningful series this weekend.
Well, you are a national treasure, and I know I speak on behalf of everyone inside of Beaver Nation. They just absolutely adore you, as do all the media members. You are just always a joy to deal with, and we certainly appreciate every moment that we are given with you. So, real quick, let me just ask you this: is there a favorite super regional memory that comes to mind now that we're less than 20, 22 and a half hours away from first
Yeah,
pitch?
and I hate to, I mean, there have been some great super regional moments. The Beavers lost to Kansas State in 2013 and then
Mm.
came back and won the next two. And I missed the middle game of that super regional because I'm at my daughter's graduation. And so it's a super regional game, but I can't miss my daughter's graduation. And so we had somebody else calling the game, and people all over the auditorium in the Mid Valley watching were they had their earpieces in. And so, you know, during the graduation ceremonies, when you're waiting for your photo opportunity, when your child crosses the stage, people were kind of looking around at each other because if the Beavers had lost that game, there would have been no game for me to call to go to Omaha the next day. So
Mm.
the Beavers behind Andrew Moore won the game, and then I got to call the winning game to the Super Regional. So that stands out. But still, 20 years ago, kind of where we started when the Beavers broke through after 53 years. Dallas Buck comes out of the bullpen. What a great name, by the way. One of the
Newburgh's
best
finest.
baseball names ever. Dallas Buck
Right.
comes out to get a save in the ninth. Andy Jenkins, now a coach for USC,
Mm-hmm.
but Lucas Duda, a future big leaguer, hits a ground ball to Andy Jenkins at first for the final out. Andy steps on first. And the reason I remember this so well, first of all, it's a breakthrough to Omaha. I got so excited. The Beavers are going to Omaha. And and then the whole system that I was broadcasting on went kaput, dead air for about 3 minutes because I was so loud and exuberant in the moment that it took me a while to
Oh,
kind of
my
get
God.
booted up again and reconfigured. So that gave me 3 minutes while it was rebooting to go out and hug my family and dance with the fans a little bit, then came back on the air and said, sorry about that, but the Beavers are going to Omaha.
Oh, my goodness. Too much. Too much. That's going to be awesome. It's going to be a terrific atmosphere this weekend, Mike. I know Friday, Saturday. Let's hopefully they can get it done in just the first two. In closing, I just want to ask you just about momentum and what the Beavers have done over the last 4 games, because that hopefully can carry them into this series with the Seminoles starting Friday at 3 o'clock. But in your eyes, how important is momentum? Because we've seen the Beavers this season have some issues. They lost all 4 games to Oregon. How did that do to them and their psyche?
Yeah, the great thing, I think, is what we saw over those last 4 games, outscoring their opponents 50-6, pitching at a high level, defending 5 double plays in the elimination game, the Corvallis Regional Championship, a season high. All the home runs they were bashing, the bunt. Adam, I think they're playing their best baseball at the right time in all phases, pitching, defense. The offense has come to life up and down the order. So I think the momentum thing that you refer to is absolutely real. And the fact the Beavers don't have to get on another plane. They've traveled 24,000 miles. They want to go on about a 1,700-mile flight here in a few days to the heartland, and that's it. And the fact that they're home, getting to continue their routines, I think they're in a good place to keep that momentum going.
Well, as long as you're behind the microphone, they're always going to be in a good place. The great Mike Parker joining us, voice of Beaver Baseball, Game 1 of their Super Regional against Florida State, coming up tomorrow, Friday, 3 p.m., ESPN2. Then again, 6 o'clock on Saturday, also on ESPN2. And let's hope they can just get it done after Saturday, and we'll have a good night partying on the streets of Corvallis and at the Peacock and all the good spots down there.
No question. And the party, if it happens, will begin in the stands and
Yes.
roll into the streets and across campus. The beautiful ballpark, Goss Stadium of Coleman Field. Home plate has sat in the same spot since they laid it down in 1907, the oldest continuous ballpark in use at any level in all of baseball in our country. Goss Stadium of Coleman Field. And the fans over the years, and particularly in this 21st century, I'm not sure what they were doing in 1907, but I know that in 2025 it'll be a party at Goss if the Beavers find their way through to Omaha.
See, we don't even come here for the statistics. We come here for history lessons as well. Do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your kindness. You're too kind. I appreciate the kind words and really enjoyed the conversation. And enjoy your time watching your son play. That's where you need to be. But maybe you can make a run back to Omaha in a week or two.
Oh, that would be great. I'm 2 for 2 in bringing back titles by going. So
let's go then.
Let's go.
Thanks,
Beaver
Adam.
Nation. Appreciate you, Mike. Thank you so much.
Go Beavs.
Go Beavs is right. And we turn this recording